Hey guys, today we are going to play with EC2 instance and how to fix any issues which overcomes, and also how to connect an Linux EC2 instance from the outside world. Okay, let's get started. You can see there is no instance running at the moment. So I'll just create a launch instance. They will give it as this Linux first, and you can see can select Amazon Linux, and you can see there is an Amazon machine image. It is a free tier available. If you want, you can customize it. Since it is a test lab, I will just keep it as it is. Architecture, it is a 64-bit, and you can see the instance type as T2 micro, which is a free tier eligible, which will give you 1 CPU and 1 gigs of memory. If you want, you can increase it based on your need. Since we are going to spin up and delete it, so just keep it as it is. Here there is a keypad. You can see there are a couple of keypads which I have, but let's create a new keypad to log in for this lab. We'll just give it as new lab and just keep it as RAM and RSA. Just create a keypad. Then the keypad will be downloaded here. We will use it later. How to connect it? You can see there is a no security group is there. We will just create a new one which will allow SSH traffic for the instance from the outside world. So it will give a default 8 gigs of gigs. If you want, you can increase it, but you can say free tier up to 30 gigs of EBS general purpose SSD or magnetic storage. But still, since we are just going to connect and delete, we just keep it as 8 gigs of memory, and then we'll just create. There is a one instance which we are going to launch. So just create a launch instance. You can see it is giving an error like VPC. Virtual private cloud is not there. There is no default cloud which was there already, which I have deleted. Just create new one for the lab. Create a new VPC which is needed to communicate to the outside world. We can see this is the flow. If we create anything from this region, it will communicate to the through the routing table and it reaches to the outside gateway. Now we will again go back to the instance. Just refresh it and then select the VPC. And for subnet to assign IP, we don't have any subnet right now. We just create a new subnet. Just we will select the VPC which we just created, and then we will create subnet as just subnet one or just create as just subnet availability zone. We don't have any preferences of now because it is a just test one. So I just give it as 31.1.0 CDR black and give it as 24 and then create subnet. So it shows it overlaps with the existing subnet. So what we are going to do is we're going to search for the subnet and just go to Amazon console here. We'll just go to subnet. You can see there are a list of subnets which is already created. We don't need any of the subnets. You just select everything and we will select this delete subnet and just give a command delete. So it will be deleted from here. Then just go back to the console. Just delete 24 and then just start to create subnet. Or still it says overlaps because it is still creating. So just click delete, select and delete subnet. It should have deleted already, but it is not yet updated. So now you can see the subnet does not exist. So since it is already deleted, we'll go back to that instance. We'll just scroll down. We'll just click on create new subnet. Now we will select the existing VPC. I just select as test subnet 1 And let me give this CDR block as 1 dot, sorry, 1.0, and we'll give it as 28 because we don't need so many IPs, just 28, or else just 32, but just restricted to single IP. Create subnet. Now the subnet is created. Now again go back to the launch instance and refresh it, and the subnet is automatically assigned. We will just select auto IP, auto assign public IP. We are not going to use elastic IP, which is a assign static public IP to the resource. And you can see instance security group which we are going to create. We'll just name it as Golden Lab, and you can see it will create a instance. We can type description as Golden Lab security group created with timestamp. You can see there is an inbound role for 22, which will allow to connect to the Linux instance from anywhere in the world. And by default, it allows to any IP. So we should not give like this, since it is a test environment. We just select this virtual machine to be accessible from anywhere in the world. By default, it will allow 8 gigs of memory. This is enough for a test machine. Now again, we will try to launch instance and see whether it is throwing any more error. It is creating the instance. So now the instance is, the creation is successfully launched. Let me connect and see the status. You can see this is pending, and you can see this is created in the availability zone as US East 1B, and this is the public IP for DNS, and this is the public IPv4 address. Since we are not using elastic IP here, because elastic IP will be used to give a static IP to the instance, which we are not going to do because we don't need for our test lab. IPv6 we are not doing. For monitoring, we are not keep this resource under monitoring, since it is not required for a test lab. And you can see security group name as Outcome Lab, which we have just created along with the key pair. This is a G lab. What we will do is, meanwhile it is getting created, we will go to the downloads and we will go to the open folder, and we will copy this key file to the lab path. Here, Amazon EC2 lab, I have already created one for a different lab. So we created with a different name, glab.com. Now you will go back to the browser and see the status that is created. Still creating. So what we can do is, we will just refresh it and see that it is getting created. So now the instance is created and it is running. So if we select this resource, you can see all the details of the instance, like instance ID, what is the IP, and this is an auto assigned public IP. Everything was already configured. If you go to the security, you can see the inbound rule was created, and you can see outbound rule was created for this one. And if you go to the network, this is how the network interface is configured. Elastic IP you are not using it. So now you can see the storage, which is 8 gigs of 8 gigs of storage, which we see while we created. This is the volume monitoring, which is not going to be used as of now. So now we are going to connect to this instance. Just click on connect. You can see there are different methods to connect to the instance. You can go to the EC2 instance connect, and then this is the EC2 instance user. It will open through a browser. You can connect it. It is trying to establish the connection. So now it is established connection to the open world. So you can see the host name. This is the instance name which we have just created, and You can see the IP. It just auto assigned. It just auto assigned from the subnet which we have created there. Now we will try to connect instance from a machine. So what we will do is we will go to that same instance. We'll go to connect and then select as SSH client. We will try to establish connection with the SSH client now. So for that, we need to open SSH. Since it is a Windows 11, we no need to have any separate SSH client. Our command prompt is enough. Now we will go back, navigate to the path where we keep that key file. See, Amazon EC2 lab. You can see these are all the key files there. The lab firm. You can see this is the same GLAC firm which we used to connect to the instance. Just copy it and just paste it and try to connect to that instance. It's on to connect. So you can see the permissions for the GLAB term are to open. It is required that your private key are not accessible by others. The private key will be ignored and the connection was not established. It throws a permission denied error. For to fix this one, we have a set of commands. For Linux, we just need to run this command 400 glab term. It will immediately give the permission to that key file. But in Windows, it's a little bit different. Now what we are going to do is we are going to open our file. We are go to the EC2 instance lab content. You can see this is the icons which we need to use. Here we just need to replace the key file name. Here it is a glab.com. Just select as the rename, copy it, go back to this one, just rename with that one. This is the standard command for any Linux instance to connect to with a different keeper. We just need to replace the name. Just copy it and run in the command prompt. So now it is successfully passed. Then go back to that one, copy it, paste it here. Now it is successfully processed. Then go back to the third command. Now it is successfully processed. Now we'll try to again connect to that instance. Now you can see the instance connection is successfully established, and you can see the host name, which is EC2 instance 1. We again go back to the same thing. Here, if you go to the VPC, we need to see how it is established to the outside world, right? If we go to that VPC, you can see there is a route table. We go to that route table, it points to an RTB1 route table which we have created. We can see this is the local route table which assigns IP address to the instance, and you can see there is one more route table. If you go to that edit routes, you can see from 000 from the any destination through internet gateway through this VPC. This is the one which we have created, internet gateway which we have created it and which is active. So based on that, it routes to that one. You can see the internet gateway. You can again go back to the table and VPC. You can see internet gateways. This is the attached state. If you can see, it is an attached. You can see here. Once you start to create an internet gateway, it will ask you to attach it to the VPC. I have created an internet gateway and I have attached it to the VPC, which is already we created for to access it. And route table is used to route it. And the subnets, if we can go to the subnets, you can see there are default subnets which was created. We select that subnet, you can see what are the subnets table which is available. You can see the route table here. It will automatically be tagged under here. And this is the security groups which we have created for our lab, which we have created one. And that is a default VPC which was created by Amazon itself. This is how the flow works. The thing is, if you want to create a EC2 instance, it goes through VPC, and from the VPC, you can see there are, this is the route. You can see from this subnet, it goes to the route table, and from the route table, it goes to the network connection using the internet gateway. This is the internet gateway which we have created. This is the flow. If there is any error, you can easily identify here, and anytime you can go here and you can access anything. If you want to access this subnet, you can directly click here and you can access the subnet, and you can see what are all the things. And here you can also see the route table and what is the VPC it is assigned to it, and the route table, everything you can see. Same like you can, if you want to go to internet gateway, you can directly select it here and you can see the internet gateway. And if you can select it here, you can detach it from the VPC as well if you want. If you detach it from the VPC, then the instance will not be communicating to the outside world. That also we can check. Just going to detach it from the VPC, or you want to detach it. Just I'm going to detach it to the VPC. Since there are already public address mapped to it, it is not allowing because we already having an instance launch. So it is not allowed to detach the instance. If you want to delete that instance and remove the IPs, then we can detach it. This is the lab which we have created just to show not only how to create an EC2 instance, how to create it, and how the flow works, and how we can establish the connection for an Linux instance from a Windows machine. That's all for the lab today. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Thank you. Happy learning.